Shana Tova. I'm gonna do something unprecedented right now. It's never been done before by me. This is unprecedented for me. I'm speaking to you right now from the distant past. Ooh, spooky. Is it high holidays or the Twilight Zone? I don't know. Not to tell on myself too much, but unlike some of your rabbis, he's not here, I don't generally write my high holiday sermons months and months ahead of time. One day I do aspire to that. Like, I want to be that kind of rabbi. I want to be Rabbi Strauss when I grow up, is what I'm saying. One day. But right now, I'm more of what you call a clutch player. I get a little bit better. It gets just a little closer to the wire. You know, I really hone it in, and it all comes together. But this year, I realize, as I'm writing this, after doing some calculations, that I could end up being freshly postpartum during high holidays. Side note, I had a baby 7 weeks ago, so I was right. And since this is not my first time at the parenthood rodeo, I know from experience that those first many months are a total blur. There's lots of crying for no reason, both me and the baby. There's sleepless nights. There's feeding on demand. It's all just a mess. So I figure, for the very first time in my rabbinic career, maybe I should write my high holiday sermon way ahead of time. What for me is way ahead of time. This is, let's say, early summer as I'm writing this, as I'm speaking to you now. The baby's not here yet. I'm more well-rested. The hours in the day are more my own than they will be later when it gets closer to the high holidays. So full of optimism, I have sat down way ahead of time to write my Rosh Hashanah sermon. I've run into a problem. Not to brag, I can do a lot of stuff. You know, I think I'm good at many things. I'm a rabbi, I'm a teacher, I'm a writer. I am many things. What I am not is a fortune teller. I do not know what's going to happen in the future. So I've been puzzling over this. How do I give a sermon this year of all years, when I have no idea what the Jewish landscape will be on the day I deliver it on Rosh Hashanah? How will I know what people need to hear? I don't know what the world's going to look like in October 2024, because it has been a year. For like non-Jewish people, it's been a year. There's an election coming up. The weather's been unreal. That was true. Grocery costs are ridiculous. There's a lot going on for everyone, right? For everyone. But if you're Jewish, what we have been through as a people over the past year, it's not that it's unprecedented, because there's precedent. And that's the kicker, right? October 7th was the largest loss of Jewish life on a single day since the Holocaust. It's a heck of a precedent. Over 1,200 people murdered in Israel, and more were injured. Men, women, children, the elderly, the disabled. Hundreds are hostage, and maybe they still are. How do I give a sermon with this big question mark hanging in the air? It breaks my heart to think of reading these words, this sermon on Rosh Hashanah, without emendation, with no cheery postscript for the happy resolution, because that would mean that our brothers and sisters are still being held hostage a year later, a year. It hurts to type these words. I so badly do not want them to be true. It's been a year of Israel under constant assault, rockets from Hamas in Gaza, from Hezbollah in Lebanon, all funded and supplied by their buddies in Iran. Side note, this was written before 2 ballistic missile attacks from Iran herself launched at Israel. It's been a year of Jews around the world walking around feeling like there is a target on our backs. Our children are not safe in their schools, on their campuses. Our synagogues have exponentially greater security measures than they did a year ago because we have to. The vitriol online and in person is unparalleled. There is a 360% rise in anti-Semitic hate crimes compared to a year ago. 360%. My brain cannot fathom, can't wrap itself around a number that large. That's an increase in incidents by the thousands, and that's just in this country. Jews are under attack just for being Jewish all over the world, in the UK, in Europe, everywhere. How do I write a sermon not knowing exactly what the world will look like? How do I deliver that sermon knowing that the world doesn't look all that great for us right now? How do I have the audacity to stand before you on the holiest days of the year with any authority to say anything about what to do, how to go, move forward? How do I write this sermon so far in advance? How do I dare to talk to you from the past? There's a story in the Talmud, you're going to laugh, about time travel. Well, you should have laughed. There is a story in our most ancient 2,000-year-old legal text about time travel. Not just time travel, but a time-traveling Moses. Yes. As in the Moses from the Torah, he travels through time in the Talmud. You can't make this religion up. When Moses ascended to heaven, he saw God, obviously. But not just that. He saw God doing something that looked to him a little weird. God was writing a Torah. That's not the weird part. But when God was writing the Torah, God was putting little crowns on some of the letters. Now, to us, that looks normal, but to Moses, that looked very odd. He'd never seen that before. So he's very confused, and he asks God, why are you doing that? And God says, one day, they're going to look in the Torah for answers to all their great questions. And they will suss meaning out of everything that we do here, now, even the little crowns on the letters. And Moses says, show me. Apparently, he did not believe God. So God transports him to thousands of years in the future, to the Beit Midrash, to the study hall of the rabbis from the Talmud. And they're sitting and they're learning a lesson from the Torah. And Moses is sitting there on a bench and he's listening in. And he's completely lost. This is a lesson from his Torah, right? He's lost this discussion, the kind of learning they're having, the teaching. He has no idea what they're talking about. He's completely confused. And a student puts up his hand for a particular section of the text and asks his teacher, Minayin Lacha, from where do we learn this? Basically, like, cite your sources. Halacha Moshe miSinai, his teacher told him. We learned this from Moses at Sinai. And when he hears this, the Talmud tells us, Nityashev da'ato, Moses' mind was at ease. Even though he did not know it at the time, the wisdom that Moses brought to the world, his leadership, his compassion, his bravery, all the qualities that made him a great man, the one who led our people from slavery to freedom, the qualities that made him the father of a nation, the progenitor of us all, those qualities, his wisdom, his character, would be repeated generation after generation, would be taught from child to parent to child to parent to child, an endless chain. So far removed from him that he didn't even see the connection himself. But the legacy was there. The legacy that Moses left was so important and so impactful for the myriads who came after him, for all of his descendants. It is a fundamentally Jewish thing to learn from the past. We stand in awe of those who came before us. I am inspired when I read about Jews who came before me who did exceptional things. During the Inquisition, Jews who outwardly practiced a religion of those who would rather see them be dead than be Jewish, but they continued to practice their Judaism secretly, in their homes, lighting Shabbat candles in cupboards, professing a strange allergy to pork. I am moved by their dedication and their bravery. I read the stories of the Jews who survived the pogroms, like so many of our great-grandparents, who fled Cossacks and angry mobs, who sent their children away to faraway lands and never spoke to them or heard from them again. I'm inspired by their selfless love. And during the Holocaust, the Jews who survived unspeakable horrors in the camps, the worst degradation humans can visit upon one another, our ancestors survived that. And they went on to have children and live life. I'm in awe of their resilience and their tenacity. We are descended by blood or by choice from those who survived. The perennial assaults that the world visits upon Jews, Bechol dor vador omdim, the Haggadah says, we read on Passover. In every generation they rise up against us. We are never without adversaries, yet the world has never been without us. And think about it. You are here. You are sitting in Rosh Hashanah services because all who came before you lived. I am, you are, we all are descended from the survivors who survived the unimaginable in Jewish history. So how will I talk to you in the present? What will I say to you on a Rosh Hashanah of a world I am not familiar with? I'll tell you what I know about the past. That our history is filled with dark periods. The specter of hatred has always followed us, no matter where we live or what we do. It always seems to rear its ugly head. But we are here, standing on the shoulders of giants and all who came before us, who survived millennia of Jewish history, and that is absolutely no small thing. And I'll remind you in the present, I'll remind you of something you might not be able to think about right now, something I'm sure our ancestors did not think about when they are too busy surviving the Inquisition and the Shoah and the Farhud. Their primary concern was making it through the day, through the week, through the month, through the year. I think we sympathize with that idea now, don't we? Just living day to day, because the big picture is so enormous it feels like it could crush you. And that's okay, we're in survival mode. So you'll be forgiven if you're not consciously thinking about this, but you have to know that you stand on the shoulders of giants, of all who came before you. Thinking, when you hear their stories, of their awesome bravery, of their heroics in the face of uncertain times, of their living through periods of Jewish history that is so dark, so bleak, it feels like it will swallow you up. And also, hold out your hands. Serious, hold your hands. No. Do this. These are some big shoulders too. These are the shoulders that future generations will stand on. These are weary shoulders, yes. And they tell stories about us. We are living the stories in our children's history books, and of their children, and of their children too. This is a staggering responsibility, but it is an astounding privilege to be where we are now. To be where you are now. You are the heroes that the generations who follow will learn about on Jewish holidays. How we fought against those who sought our destruction in our own land and in lands not our own, and how we went on living upright despite a world that demanded we bow. You are Mordechai, you are Esther. One day they will drink l'chaims to you, they will drink wine in your honor and recount how you held it together during one of the worst reckonings in Jewish history. And you did it by being true to yourselves, to your Jewish values, to your traditions, how we supported one another here in Israel, around the world. We fought for each other, and we loved each other fiercely. As Jews, we're always commemorating and learning and teaching about our past, because that's how we learn how to be in the present. That's how we remember that we are descended from all those who survived our past, and also, Our present is the germination of lessons, of inspiration for the future, for future generations and their struggles, which are both familiar and not, which we both know and do not know, but yet must certainly be another iteration of the hatred that haunts our history. Future generations will look at us in awe of how we survived and thrived, like how we look at our ancestors in wonder. This is what I will tell you when I speak to you from a past that is dark, looking towards a future that is unknown. I'll remind you at the beginning, and I did, that I'm not a soothsayer. I do not know what the future holds. But as a Jew, I am a lover of, I am a keeper of history. And if our collective history tells us anything, it's that we have the stamina to withstand anything. Anything. The proof is sitting around you as I speak these words. I don't only wish you a Shana Tova. I wish you a Shana Chazakah, a year of strength, of continued strength, the strength of your ancestors, the same strength that you carry in you. I know you do. And you will imbue that strength to your descendants. Long may they live. Shana Tova.